The forest was screaming, not with sound, with silence. The kind that presses against your eardrums until you're sure something's about to break. Chris stood 30 feet ahead of us, his back to the group, shoulders rising and falling with breath that came too slow, too controlled. "Chris?" Sam's voice cracked. Her camera hung forgotten around her neck, lens pointed at the ground. "Chris, please look at me." He didn't turn, didn't move. The moonlight caught something on his hands, dark streaks that looked black in the pale light. Behind him, the stone structure we'd found earlier wasn't sealed anymore. The symbols we'd photographed that afternoon were split down the middle, and something that looked like smoke, but moved wrong, too thick, too alive, was seeping out. I felt it before I saw his eyes. That pressure in my skull that had started an hour ago, the one that made me want to vomit and run at the same time. The feeling that something fundamentally wrong was standing in front of me. When Chris finally turned around, Mia grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise. His eyes were black. Not the pupils, everything, like someone had filled them with ink from the inside. "Tyler," he said, and it was his voice, but also not. Two voices, one human, one that scraped against reality like fingernails on glass. "I broke something. I think it broke me back." Sam took a step toward him. "We can fix this. Whatever happened, we can—" "Stay back." The human voice won for a moment, desperate and terrified. "Please, it's so loud in here. It won't stop talking. It knows your names. It knows—" His face twisted, and the other voice surged forward. "It knows everything." The smoke from the broken seal reached his feet, and when it touched him, Chris smiled. It wasn't his smile. That's when I knew. We'd done something we couldn't undo. And whatever was wearing my cousin's face was just getting started. Tyler here. And yeah, I know how that sounded. My cousin's possessed by something evil. But 12 hours before that nightmare, my biggest problem was fitting everything I owned into a duffel bag that smelled like the bottom of a gym locker. "You're bringing the sleeping bag that smells like sadness?" My roommate Jake was eating cereal directly from the box, judging me from the couch. "Bold choice." "It's vintage," I said, shoving it in anyway. "Character building." "It's building something, probably new strains of bacteria." He tossed a Lucky Charm at my head. "So let me get this straight. Your uncle, the one nobody talked to for like a decade, dies and leaves you a cabin, and instead of selling it like a normal person, you're going up there for a weekend with your cousin and 2 random girls from the internet." "They're not random. Mia seems cool. She knows about the area, gave us some good hiking spots to check out." "Uh-huh. And her friend?" "Sam's a photographer. She wants to shoot the fall colors or whatever." Jake grinned. "You know this sounds like the start of a horror movie, right? 4 young people go to isolated cabin, something machete." I threw the Lucky Charm back at him. "Pretty sure we'll survive a weekend in the woods." Famous last words, man. Famous last words. If I'd known how right he was, I would have stayed on that shitty couch and eaten stale cereal for the rest of my life. Chris picked me up an hour later in his Jeep that was held together by duct tape and optimism. He was practically vibrating with excitement. "Road trip!" He punched my shoulder as I climbed in. "Just like when we were kids, except now we can legally buy beer and there's a non-zero chance of romance." We're checking out a cabin I inherited from an uncle I barely knew. And meeting 2 women who willingly agreed to spend a weekend with us in the woods. Tyler, my man, this is called opportunity. He pulled out of the parking lot like we were fleeing a crime scene. "Did you see Mia's profile picture? She has this smile that's like, I don't even know, man, warm, like hot chocolate." "I thought you were into her friend, Sam." "I am exploring my options until I meet them in person and assess the vibes." He changed lanes without signaling, nearly causing a pileup. "But yeah, Okay, Sam's photos are insane. She did this whole series on abandoned buildings that made me feel things. Art things. You're a romantic. I'm a realist who appreciates good lighting and better conversation. He glanced over, suddenly serious. You doing okay? I know the uncle thing is weird. I shrugged. I barely knew him. Dad always said Uncle William went eccentric after he moved up north. Stopped coming to family stuff, got obsessed with local history or folklore or something. Eccentric is code for interesting. Chris drummed on the steering wheel. Maybe we'll find his secret treasure or his taxidermy collection. Either way, it'll be a story. As long as it's not a horror story. Chris laughed. What's the worst that could happen? I should have known better to ask the universe questions like that. We met Mia and Sam at a gas station off Highway 61, about 2 hours north of the cities. Chris had been right about one thing. Mia's smile was exactly like hot chocolate, warm and genuine, and the kind that made you want to smile back even if you were having a shit day. Tyler? She extended her hand. Nice to finally meet in person. This is my friend Sam. Sam was shorter, dark hair pulled back, and holding a camera that probably cost more than my car. She gave us a nod that was more assessment than greeting. Hey. Love the camera, Chris said immediately, and I watched Sam's expression shift from wary to interested. Thanks. It's a Canon EOS R5. I've been wanting to test it in low-light forest conditions. She paused. That sounded super nerdy, didn't it? That sounded awesome, Chris said, and just like that, they were talking about aperture and shutter speed, and I had no idea what any of it meant. Mia laughed quietly beside me. They're going to be doing that for a while. Want to grab coffee inside? The gas station had the kind of coffee that tasted like it had been brewed during the Reagan administration, but Mia made it seem normal. We stood by the creamer station and she asked about the cabin. Honestly, I don't know much about it. Uncle William left it to me in his will, but I hadn't talked to him in years. My dad said he got weird after he retired up here. Weird how? Paranoid, obsessive, stopped answering phone calls. When he died, the lawyers said he'd been living alone up there for almost 15 years. Mia added 3 sugars to her coffee. That's sad, being alone that long. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it that way. I guess it is. Well, she said, and that smile came back. He's not alone now, even if he's, dead. We're going to see his place, remember him. That counts for something. I had only known her for 5 minutes, but I already liked how she saw the world. Like there was meaning in things, even small things. Thanks for coming, I said. I know it's kind of weird, meeting strangers for a cabin weekend. Are you kidding? This is an adventure. She clinked her terrible coffee against mine. Besides, Sam needed to get out of the city, and I've always wanted to see the Iron Range. Win-win. What if the cabin's a disaster, like structurally unsound and full of raccoons? Then we'll have an even better story. Chris appeared at my shoulder, Sam in tow. Are we doing this, or are we going to talk about coffee all day? Because I'm ready to see this mysterious inheritance. Mia grinned. Let's go find out what your uncle left behind. We caravanned north, Chris's Jeep leading, and I watched the scenery get progressively more isolated. Fewer buildings, fewer people. More trees. I didn't know it yet, but we were driving straight into something that had been waiting for us. Waiting for me. The cabin sat at the end of a gravel road that hadn't seen maintenance in probably a decade. Pine trees crowded close on all sides, and the afternoon sun barely penetrated the canopy. It was beautiful in that postcard way. Rustic, isolated, atmospheric. Holy shit, Chris breathed. This is straight out of a Netflix series. It was bigger than I expected. 2 stories, wraparound porch, stone chimney that looked older than anything else. The lawyer had said someone from town had been keeping it maintained, making sure pipes didn't freeze. But it still had that empty feeling, like the building knew its owner was gone. Sam was already taking photos. Click, click, click. The light through the trees is perfect. This is going to look amazing. Mia stood next to me on the porch. You okay? Yeah, it's just, I thought I'd feel something, like a connection to my uncle or whatever. But it's just a building. Give it time. Sometimes places need you to get to know them first. I unlocked the door. The key had been waiting for me at the lawyer's office, and we stepped inside. The interior was cleaner than I expected. Hardwood floors, stone fireplace, furniture covered in white sheets like ghosts. But what caught my attention was the walls. Maps. Dozens of them. Topographical maps of the area marked with symbols I didn't recognize. Circles, triangles, lines connecting points that meant nothing to me. Your uncle was really into cartography. Chris pulled a sheet off a couch. Dust exploded into the air. Or he was tracking something, Sam murmured, photographing one of the maps. Look at the concentration of marks, all within a 10-mile radius. Mia ran her fingers along one of the symbols, a circle with a line through it. Did your uncle ever mention what he was researching? My dad just said he got obsessed with local folklore, Native American legends, settler stories, that kind of thing. This seems like more than casual interest. She pointed to a map that had been marked so heavily the paper was almost torn. This looks like, I don't know, documentation? Or paranoia, I said. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it. Chris had wandered to a desk in the corner. Guys, you need to see this. The journal sat on the desk like it had been waiting for us. Leather-bound, worn at the edges, the kind of thing that looked like it belonged in a museum. My uncle's name was embossed on the cover in faded gold lettering, William Cross. I picked it up carefully. It was heavier than it should have been. Is that his research? Mia leaned in, curious. I opened it. The first page was written in my uncle's handwriting. I recognized it from birthday cards he'd sent when I was a kid, back before he stopped sending them. To whoever inherits this, I'm sorry. What follows is everything I learned. Pay attention. Your life depends on it. Uncle William. Well, that's not ominous at all, Chris said. I turned to the second page. These are the most important truths I have discovered. And then, nothing. I flipped through the journal, page after page of blank paper, not a single word beyond those first 2 pages. Maybe it's invisible ink, Sam suggested, some kind of puzzle. Or he never got around to filling it in, I said. But my uncle's first message didn't sound like someone who'd left things unfinished. Pay attention, your life depends on it. Mia took the journal gently, examining it in the fading afternoon light. The paper's old. You can see where it's been handled. The pages aren't pristine. He used this book. But wrote nothing in it? Chris frowned. That doesn't make sense. Maybe it's encoded, Sam said. Heat-activated ink, UV light. There are ways to hide writing. Or, I said quietly, maybe he really did go crazy. Obsessive maps, cryptic warnings, blank journals. That sounds like someone who lost touch with reality. But even as I said it, something about the journal felt intentional, like the blankness was the point. Mia handed it back to me. Keep it. Maybe it'll make sense later. I slipped it into my jacket pocket. It felt warm against my chest, but that was probably just my imagination. So, Chris clapped his hands together, breaking the weird tension. Want to explore the area? Check out some of these marked locations on the maps? Sam perked up. I could get some amazing shots. The golden hour up here must be incredible. I'm in, Mia said. Better than sitting around a creepy cabin theorizing about your uncle's mental state. I looked at the maps again. All those marks, all those symbols, and my uncle's warning. Pay attention. Your life depends on it. Yeah, let's see what's out there. We had no idea we were about to find exactly what my uncle had been mapping, and it had been waiting for us the whole time. The forest in late October is a specific kind of beautiful. The maples were burning orange and red, and the pine trees made everything smell like Christmas and earth and something older. We followed a trail that started behind the cabin, worn enough to be visible but not maintained. Deer path, maybe. Chris and Sam had naturally paired off up ahead, him pointing out things and her photographing them. I could hear them laughing, that easy kind of chemistry that makes you believe in luck. Mia walked beside me, taking everything in with this quiet appreciation that made me want to see the forest through her eyes. "This is incredible," she said. "I grew up in the suburbs. We had yards, not wilderness." "Same. This is the most nature I've experienced since Boy Scout camp." "Were you a Boy Scout?" "For exactly 3 meetings before I realized camping involved bugs and getting up early." She laughed. "So what made you accept the cabin? You could have sold it, never come up here." "I thought about it. Honestly, curiosity. My uncle was this mystery, you know? The family member everyone mentioned, but nobody really talked about. And when I found out he left this to me specifically, not my dad, not anyone else, I wanted to know why. Maybe he saw something in you." "Like what? My ability to avoid responsibility and eat cereal for dinner?" "Maybe he knew you'd be curious enough to look." She stopped walking, pointing ahead. "Tyler, look." Carved into a massive oak tree was a symbol, the same one from the maps back at the cabin, a circle with a line through it. But this one was deep, like someone had spent hours cutting it into the bark. And around it, spiral patterns that made my eyes hurt if I looked at them too long. "Sam!" I called ahead. "You seeing this?" She was already photographing it, clicking from multiple angles. "Yeah, and it's not the only one." She was right. Now that I was looking, I could see them on other trees. Different symbols, but all carved with the same deliberate precision. Some looked newer, the wood still pale. Others were old enough that bark had started growing over them. Chris ran his hand along one, then pulled back quickly. "Okay, is it just me, or does touching these feel wrong?" "Wrong how?" Mia asked. "Like," he frowned, trying to find words. "Like static electricity, but internal? I don't know how to describe it." I touched one myself. He was right. There was a feeling, not quite physical, not quite not, like the tree was vibrating at a frequency I could almost but not quite perceive. Sam lowered her camera. "Your uncle marked these locations on his maps. He wanted someone to find them." "But why?" I pulled the journal from my jacket. Still blank. What's the point of marking trees in the middle of nowhere? "Maybe they're not random," Mia said slowly. She was looking at the symbols with that focused intensity I was starting to recognize. What if they're markers? Like, I don't know, boundary stones? Trail markers? "Markers for what?" Chris asked. That's when we heard it. Not a sound, exactly, more like the absence of sound. The birds that had been singing went quiet all at once. The wind that had been rustling just stopped. And in that silence, something in the trees moved. "Did you see that?" Sam's voice was barely a whisper. We all looked. About 50 yards deeper into the forest, between 2 massive pines, there was a shape. Tall, taller than any person should be. It wasn't moving, but I had the horrible certainty that it was watching us. "There?" Chris suggested, but he didn't sound convinced. "Wrong shape," Sam said. She raised her camera, started to zoom in. "Sam, don't," I started to say, but she'd already taken the shot. Click. The shape moved. Not walked, moved. 1 second it was 50 yards away, and next it was 30, and I never saw it cross the distance between. It just was closer, like frames had been cut from a film. "Back to the cabin," Mia said, and there was something in her voice that made us all listen. "Right now. Don't run. Walk. Don't look back." We walked. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever done, keeping that measured pace when every instinct was screaming at me to sprint. I could feel it behind us. Not hear it, not see it, but feel it. That wrongness Chris had described when touching the tree, but amplified. Mobile. Chris was trying to make a joke. I could see his mouth moving, but no sound came out. Or maybe I just couldn't hear him over the pressure building in my skull. When we reached the cabin's porch, Mia finally let us run. We slammed inside and locked the door like that would help, like normal locks could stop whatever that was. We stood there, breathing hard, pressed against the door, listening. Nothing. The forest sounds had returned. Birds singing, wind in the leaves, like the last 5 minutes hadn't happened. What the fuck was that? Chris's voice cracked. Sam had her camera up, reviewing the photo. Her hands were shaking. Look. She turned the screen toward us. The image was blurry. She'd been moving when she took it, but clear enough. Between the trees, tall and wrong and watching, was something that looked almost human. Almost. But the proportions were off. Arms too long, head tilted at an angle that would break a normal neck. And where its eyes should be, there was just darkness. Not shadow, actual absence of light, like someone had cut holes in reality. I need to sit down, Chris said, and then he was on the floor, back against the door, head in his hands. Mia was eerily calm. Tyler, check the journal. What? It's blank. We already... Check it anyway. I pulled it out, opened it to the 3rd page, expecting nothing. The page wasn't blank anymore. In my uncle's handwriting, as clear as if he'd just written it, were words that made my blood go cold. The Watcher in the Pines. And below that, a detailed sketch of exactly what Sam had photographed. We spread the journal on the coffee table like it was radioactive. The entry was thorough, detailed, terrifying. The Watcher in the Pines. Height, 7 to 8 feet. Appears, night, full moon, though I've seen it during the day as well. Behavior, observes. Does not attack, yet. Testing, counting, marking. Rule, do not go into the woods alone. Rule, do not follow it. It knows when you see it. It knows when you're afraid. Day 47. I saw it tonight. It didn't move, just watched. I think it's waiting for something. The sketch was perfect. Every detail Sam's photo had captured, my uncle had drawn. The impossible proportions, the void where eyes should be. Even the way it stood, like it was pretending to be human, but hadn't quite figured out how. This isn't possible, I said, even though the evidence was literally in my hands. The journal was blank. We all saw it was blank. And now it's not, Mia said quietly. She was the calmest of all of us, and I couldn't tell if that was actual calm or shock. Your uncle saw that thing. He documented it. And somehow the journal knew to show us this entry. Magic journals aren't real, Chris said, but he was staring at the page like it might bite him. Sam was comparing her photo to the sketch. These are identical. The angle's different, but it's the same whatever that is. Your uncle called it the Watcher. Does not attack, yet, I read aloud. That's not comforting. It knows when you're afraid, Mia quoted. We were terrified, all of us. It knew. So what do we do? Chris looked at each of us. Pack up and leave? Call someone? The cops? Park rangers? And tell them what? Sam's voice was sharp. That we saw a tall thing in the woods and a magic journal confirmed it's real? They'll think we're on drugs. Maybe we are on drugs, Metairie said. Maybe there's a gas leak and we're all hallucinating. I flipped through the journal again. More entries had appeared. Not many, just a few pages worth. Each one started with a phenomenon name and ended with my uncle's notes. Dates, day counts, like he'd been documenting his own descent into whatever this was. The seals. First signs. Rules of engagement. There's more, I said. Other things. Mia leaned over my shoulder reading. Her hair smelled like vanilla and pine smoke. Tyler, look at this one. The entry was simple, direct. If you're reading this, something has already happened to you. The journal only reveals what you need to know when you need to know it. I don't understand how it works. I'm not sure I want to, but it's helped me survive this long. You're not crazy. What you saw is real. What you'll see is real. And I'm sorry, because knowing that doesn't make it easier. It makes it harder. But you're not alone. I wasn't the first to see these things. I won't be the last. Neither will you. Welcome to the war you didn't know was happening. Pay attention. Your life depends on it. The room was very quiet, except for the old cabin settling around us. War? Chris's voice was small. What war? Before anyone could answer, Sam stood up abruptly. I need air. I can't. This is too much. I need a minute. She walked to the window, pulled back the curtain, and froze. Guys. She didn't turn around. It's back. We all moved to the window. There, at the edge of the tree line, barely visible in the fading light, the watcher stood, perfectly still, perfectly wrong, watching the cabin, watching us. We didn't sleep that night. How could we? That thing stood at the forest's edge until well after midnight, never moving, just watching. When it finally disappeared, and I mean disappeared, like it stepped into a shadow and ceased existing, none of us believed it was really gone. Sam set up motion sensor lights using her camera equipment. Chris checked every window and door lock 3 times. Mia made coffee that no one drank, and I kept reading the journal. More entries had appeared throughout the night. Each time I looked, there were new pages, new information. It was like the journal was feeding us knowledge in doses we could handle. Or maybe it was just showing us enough to keep us from running. Day 89. The watcher hasn't approached the cabin. I think the wards are holding, but I can feel it out there, waiting. They're always waiting. Wards, plural. What wards? I looked at the maps again, seeing them with new eyes. All those symbols marked around the cabin in concentric circles, not random, protective. My uncle had been trying to keep something out, or keep something in. Tyler. Mia appeared next to me with actual food. She'd found eggs and bread in the surprisingly well-stocked fridge. You need to eat something, and maybe sleep. Did you see the entry about the seals? I saw all of them. She set the plate down. Your uncle was protecting something, or trying to, and I think we need to figure out what before we decide whether to stay or go. You're actually considering staying? She met my eyes. That thing, the watcher, it saw us. Your journal says it knows when people are afraid, which means it knows we know about it. If we run now, does it follow us? Does it find us in the city, or is it bound to this place? I hadn't thought about that. The journal doesn't say. Exactly. We don't know the rules yet, and your uncle spent years up here learning them. She paused. Maybe we need to do the same. Chris appeared from the kitchen, looking like he hadn't slept, which he hadn't. Okay, I have a theory. What if this is some kind of test? Your uncle left you the cabin, the journal, all of this. Maybe he wanted you to see what he saw, understand what he understood. That's a very optimistic take on Monster in the Woods. I'm grasping at straws here, man. It's either that or accept that the world is fundamentally different than what I thought it was, and I'm not ready for that existential crisis before breakfast. Sam joined us with camera in hand. I've been reviewing the photos from yesterday. The symbols on the trees, I got clear shots of all of them. If we're staying, I want to document everything, create our own map. Are we staying? I looked at each of them, seriously asking, because we could get in the cars right now and be back to civilization in 3 hours. They looked at each other, some silent communication I wasn't part of. I'm staying, Mia said first. At least for today. I want to understand this. Same, Sam said. This is evidence of something. I can't just leave that alone. Chris grinned, but it was shaky. Ride or die, cousin. Besides, You think I'm letting you face woodland monsters without backup? We have no idea what we're doing. No, Mia agreed, but your uncle did, and he left us a guidebook, so let's use it. She was right. The journal was responding to our experiences, showing us what we needed to know, which meant if we wanted answers, we needed to keep experiencing things. Okay, I said. We stay, we investigate, we figure out what my uncle was protecting. And we don't go into the woods alone, Sam added, reading from the journal. Rule number 1. Agreed. We ate breakfast as the sun came up, painting the forest in gold and amber. It looked beautiful, peaceful, normal. But I'd seen what was hiding in those trees. And according to my uncle's journal, the Watcher was just the beginning. By mid-morning, we'd formed a plan. Sam would photograph all the marked trees, creating a complete map of my uncle's symbols. Mia would inventory the cabin, looking for anything that might explain what we were dealing with. Chris and I would explore the immediate area, staying within sight of the cabin. 2-person minimum, Mia insisted. Nobody goes anywhere alone. We agreed. Chris and I started with the perimeter. In daylight, the forest looked less threatening, just trees and birds and the occasional deer. But every time I saw movement in my peripheral vision, my heart rate spiked. You feel that? Chris asked. We were examining a carved tree about 100 yards from the cabin. Feel what? Like, he put his hand near the symbol but didn't touch it. Vibration, energy, something. I tried it. He was right. There was a sensation, like standing too close to a speaker. Not quite physical, but definitely there. My uncle called them wards, I said. Protection. Maybe they're supposed to feel like that to keep things out. Or in. Chris looked uncomfortable. What if he wasn't just studying these things? What if he was containing them? Before I could answer, Sam's voice called out from deeper in the forest. Guys, you need to see this. We found her about a quarter mile from the cabin, standing in front of something that made my stomach drop. It was a structure, stone, ancient-looking, about 4 feet tall and covered in carved symbols, but these weren't like the tree markings. These were different, more complex, and they were glowing. Not bright, just a faint luminescence, like the symbols were lit from within the stone itself. Please tell me you're seeing that, Sam whispered. Yeah, my voice came out rough. Chris? Seeing it, also experiencing an overwhelming urge to touch it, which seems like a bad idea. He was right. There was something magnetic about the structure, like it was pulling at me, inviting me closer. I pulled out the journal. New entry appearing as I watched. The seals. Placed by summer to contain winter's entry points. Breaking them weakens the barrier between worlds. Do not touch, do not disturb, do not break. Symptoms of infection. Hearing voices, day 1 through 3. Cold to touch, day 3 through 7. Eyes flash black, day 7 through 14. Loss of control, day 14 plus. There is no cure I found, only containment, only mercy. Day 103. I broke one. I touched it. I am becoming something else. I am so sorry. I showed them the entry. Summer and winter, Mia read. Capital letters, like they're proper nouns. Organizations? Or sides, Sam said quietly, in a war. Your uncle mentioned a war. Chris was still staring at the seal. If your uncle broke one and got infected, what's infecting people? What's winter? I don't know, but the journal says don't touch it, so maybe we should... What was that? Chris's head snapped up. We all listened. At first, I didn't hear anything unusual. Then, a whisper, barely audible, coming from the direction of the seal. No, coming from the seal itself. Christopher. Chris went pale. Did that just say my name? Christopher, come closer. It was a voice like wind through dead leaves, dry, old, wrong. Chris, step back, I said. But he wasn't moving. He was staring at the seal like he'd been hypnotized. "You want to understand? I can show you. Just touch the stone, just once." "Chris!" Sam grabbed his arm. "Don't listen to it!" "She can't hear me. Only you. You're special, Christopher. You have questions. I have answers. All you have to do is touch." Chris's hand was moving toward the seal. Time seemed to slow down. I lunged forward, trying to grab him, but Sam was faster. She yanked him backward, and Chris stumbled, breaking whatever trance he'd been in. "What the hell?" He looked at his hand like it belonged to someone else. I wasn't trying to... "Second warning," Mia said, reading the journal over my shoulder. "No direct action without 3 warnings given. The Watcher was the first warning. This is the second." "Warning for what?" Before anyone could answer, we heard Mia calling from the cabin. "Tyler, get back here, now!" We ran. Mia met us at the cabin door, holding my uncle's journal. Her hands were shaking. "It's changing," she said. "The entries, they're updating in real time." She showed us the page about the seals. New text had appeared below my uncle's original entry. "Third warning. Do not return to the seal after dark. The voice will be louder. The pull will be stronger. If you break it, there is no going back. Winter knows your names now. Winter wants in." "That wasn't there before," I said. "It appeared while you were gone, like the journal knew what was happening out there." Mia looked at Chris. "You heard a voice?" "It knew my name." He was still pale. "How did it know my name?" Sam was reviewing her camera. "I got photos of the seal, the symbols, everything. But look at this." She showed us the screen. In the photos, the seal looked different. The symbols weren't just glowing, they were moving, shifting, rearranging themselves into patterns that hurt to look at. "That's not happening in real life," Chris said, "right? The symbols are stationary, carved into stone." "Unless the camera's seeing something we can't," Mia said quietly. "Sam's photos caught the Watcher when we barely saw it. Maybe the camera sees more." I looked at the journal again. "Winter knows your names now." "We should leave, right now. This is beyond understanding local folklore. This is dangerous." "Agreed," Sam said immediately. "We document what we have, we go, we figure out next steps from somewhere safe." Chris nodded. "Yeah, let's..." He stopped mid-sentence, tilted his head like he was listening to something. "Chris?" Mia asked. "Do you hear that?" We listened. I didn't hear anything unusual, just wind in the trees, birds, normal forest sounds. "Hear what?" I asked. "Singing." His eyes were unfocused. "Someone's singing in the woods. It's beautiful." Sam grabbed his shoulders. "Chris, there's no singing. Whatever you're hearing, it's not real." "It's so clear, though. How can you not?" He focused on her face. "Sam, why are you scared?" "Because you're hearing things that aren't there." Her voice cracked. "That's symptom 1. The journal said..." "I didn't touch the seal," Chris said, but he sounded uncertain. "I got close, but I didn't touch it. Sam pulled me back." "Maybe getting close was enough," Mia said. "Maybe the third warning was supposed to keep you away entirely." I checked the journal. A new entry was forming, words appearing like they were being written by an invisible hand. "Infection can occur through proximity if the subject is willing, if they listen, if they respond. Physical contact accelerates the process, but it is not required. Day 1. Auditory hallucinations, the voice of winter, seductive and patient. Day 2. Physical changes begin. Temperature drops, skin grows cold. Day 3. Visual distortions. The infected begin to see the world as winter sees it. Chris has 12 hours before the changes become visible to others. He has 3 days before they become irreversible. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The cabin was silent, except for our breathing. Chris looked at each of us. I'm infected with something because I got too close to that seal. We don't know that for sure, I started, but even I could hear how weak it sounded. The journal knows, Mia said quietly. It predicted everything else. Why would this be different? Sam was already grabbing her peas. Hospital, right now. We get you checked out. Blood work, CT scanned, whatever it takes. And tell them what? Chris's laugh was bitter. That a magical stone in the woods infected me with winter? They'll put me in psych eval. Then we find someone who knows about this, Mia insisted. Your uncle's journal mentions summer, an organization maybe, people who fight winter. There has to be someone who can help. I flipped through the journal frantically. There had to be something, some cure, some reversal, I found it. An entry titled Summer. They found me. The others, like me. They call themselves Soldiers Under Morning's Mandate. Summer. They said I'm not alone. They said I have a choice. They said I can fight this. But they also said, if I turn, they will put me down. Contact. This symbol. 3 interlocking circles. Leave the mark at a crossroads. They will find you. Day 156. There are more of us than I thought. We are not the first. We won't be the last. Morning always comes. We just have to survive the night. There's a contact method, I said. We can call for help. These summer people, they know how to fight this. And if they can't help? Chris asked. The journal said there's no cure, only containment, only mercy. He said the last word like it was poison. We don't know that, Sam said firmly. Your uncle got infected and survived long enough to document everything. Maybe he found a way. Maybe Summer knows a way. Or maybe he spent 15 years slowly losing himself up here alone. Chris stood up. I need air. I need to think. Chris, wait! I started, but he was already heading for the door. Heading back toward the woods. Toward the seal. We caught him 20 feet from the cabin. What are you doing? Sam grabbed his arm. The journal said don't go back after dark. It's not dark yet. Chris pulled away, but gently. I'm not going to the seal. I just need space. I need to process the fact that I'm apparently infected with something supernatural and might die or worse in the next few days. Then process it inside, I said, where it's safe. Safe? He laughed, and it sounded wrong. Tyler, we're in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by God knows what, and a journal is telling us about wars between summer and winter like that's normal. Nowhere is safe. He was right, but I couldn't let him go into the woods. Not now. Not when... Please, Sam said quietly. Just stay with us. We'll figure this out together, okay? Chris looked at her, and something in his expression softened. Yeah, okay. Together. We went back inside. Mia had been going through the cabin's desk looking for anything that might help. Your uncle had correspondences, she said, holding up envelopes. Letters to someone named A.S. in Duluth. Recent. Within the last year. What do they say? She hesitated. They're concerning. He talks about the infection progressing, about hearing the voice more clearly, about how Summer stopped responding to his check-ins. Because he was turning, they abandoned him. Or he told them to stay away. Mia showed me the last letter. Listen to this. If winter can track me through the connection, they're all in danger. Better to fade alone than drag them into darkness. He isolated himself on purpose. Chris had gone very quiet. That's going to be me. Alone. Dangerous to be around. No, Sam's voice was steel. We're not doing that. We have 3 days according to the journal. We use them. To do what? To find Summer, I said. The journal gives us a contact method. We do it. Tonight. The journal also said they might kill Chris if he's infected, Mia pointed out. Then we don't tell them he's infected. Not yet. We say we need information, help, understanding what we found. And when they figure it out? We'll handle that when it happens. I looked at Chris. But we're not giving up. Not on day 1. He managed a small smile. Day 1. That's optimistic. As the sun started setting, we prepared the ritual the journal described. A crossroads was marked on one of my uncle's maps, about a mile from the cabin. We'd leave the symbol there, 3 interlocking circles drawn in salt and ash. Salt and ash, Sam muttered. Very witchy. Your uncle's instructions are specific, Mia said, reading over my shoulder. The symbol must be drawn at midnight, must be visible from above, and we have to leave an offering. What kind of offering? The journal answered. Blood, a drop, your blood, willingly given. Summer responds to sacrifice, however small. Of course it's blood, Chris said. Why would it be anything normal? We had hours before midnight. We spent them going through my uncle's research, trying to understand the scope of what we were dealing with. Maps of the entire Iron Range, marked with symbols, photographs of structures like the seal we'd found, pages and pages of notes about winter and summer, creatures and entities, rules and laws that governed things I didn't believe existed yesterday. And through it all, the journal kept updating, feeding us information, teaching us, like it was preparing us for war. We left for the crossroads at 11:30 p.m. Chris insisted on coming despite our protests. If you're contacting people who might decide to kill me, I want to be there. Fair point. The crossroads was exactly where the map said it would be. 2 dirt roads meeting in a clearing, marked by a large flat stone. Perfect for drawing symbols. Sam used her camera's light to help us see. Mia had mixed the ash with salt in a small bag, and I had a knife from the cabin kitchen, cleaned and ready for the blood part. This feels like a bad horror movie, Chris said, but his voice was shaking. 4 college kids performing rituals in the woods. What could go wrong? We're not in college, I said, trying to keep it light. We're also not normally performing occult rituals, so maybe that's not the detail to focus on. Mia started drawing the symbol. 3 interlocking circles, each about a foot in diameter. The salt-ash mixture glowed faintly in Sam's camera's light. Or maybe I was seeing things. It's 11:58, Sam said, checking her phone. You've got 2 minutes. I looked at the knife, at the symbol, at my friends who'd somehow gotten pulled into this nightmare with me. I'm sorry, I said. This is my family's mess. You shouldn't have to... Shut up and cut your hand, Chris said. We're doing this. I made a small cut on my palm, not deep, just enough for blood to well up. It hurt more than I expected. The journal had said a single drop in the center where the 3 circles intersected. I let it fall. The blood hit the salt-ash mixture, and the symbol ignited. Not with fire, with light. Pure, white, cold light that shot straight up into the sky like a pillar. I could hear it humming, vibrating at a frequency that made my teeth ache. Is it supposed to do that? Sam shouted over the sound. Before I could answer, the light condensed, pulled inward, and standing in the center of the symbol, where nothing had been a second before, was a person. A woman. Late 30s maybe, wearing what looked like tactical gear. She had a compound bow slung across her back and eyes that looked like they'd seen things that would break normal people. She looked at each of us, taking inventory, assessing threats. Then she saw the symbol on the ground, the blood, my cut hand. Who called this assembly? Her voice was rough, like she hadn't used it in a while. I did. I stepped forward. Tyler Cross, William Cross's nephew. Her expression shifted. Recognition, surprise, and something that might have been grief. William's dead. It wasn't a question. 2 months ago. He left me his cabin, his research, his journal. The journal responded to you. That means your bloodline, active bloodline. She paused. Did William tell you anything? Prepare you? Leave instructions? He left a journal that was blank until weird shit started happening. Then it started teaching us. Standard protocol for untrained inheritors. She was still assessing us. Who were the others? Friends. We came up for a weekend, found the cabin, found... The seal. She looked at Chris, stared at him long enough that he started shifting uncomfortably. You went near it. I didn't touch it. You listened. It wasn't a question. Day 1, maybe day 2, the voice got in. Chris went pale. How do you know? Because I can see the cold coming off you. She turned to me. Tyler Cross, your uncle spent 15 years holding the line alone because he was infected and didn't want to risk spreading it. He was a good man, a strong guardian. And if he left you the cabin, he believed you could do what he couldn't. What's that? Survive. She held out her hand. I'm Addie Sorensen, Tier 6 Sentinel, Northern Region. And if you called me here, you need to understand what you're asking for. Because once Summer knows about you, once you're in the system, there's no going back to normal. This life, she gestured at the forest, the symbol, the night, becomes your life, permanently. I looked at my friends, at Chris, who was infected with something we didn't understand, at Sam, who was already photographing everything, at Mia, who was reading my uncle's journal like it held the secrets of the universe. We'd already crossed the threshold. We just hadn't known it yet. We need help, I said. Chris is infected. Day 1, maybe day 2, like you said. The journal says there's no cure, but if there's anything, any chance. There's no cure. Addie's voice was flat. Once winter gets in, it doesn't leave. Best case scenario, he learns to live with it, fight it, keep himself human through sheer will. And worst case? She looked at Chris with something that might have been pity. He turns, becomes one of them, and we have to put him down. Sam made a sound like she'd been punched. But there's time, Addie continued. Day 1 means we can train him, teach him to resist, reinforce his walls. It won't be easy, and he'll hear the voice for the rest of his life, but he could survive it, if he's strong enough. He is, Sam said immediately. He's strong enough. Addie smiled, but it was sad. We'll see. In the meantime, you're all compromised. You've been marked by the Watcher. You've found a seal, you've drawn Summer's attention, and Winter knows you exist, which means you need training, protection, understanding. Are you offering to help? I asked. I'm offering to sponsor you, bring you into Summer officially, train you as guardians. She paused. But you need to understand what that means. This isn't a part-time thing. This isn't a weekend hobby. You fight Summer or you die to it. Those are the only options once you're in. Can we think about it? Mia asked. You have until sunrise. After that I leave and you're on your own. Winter will still know about you. The Watcher will still be out there. The seal will still be calling to your friend. But you'll face it all without Summer's support. She was giving us a choice, but it wasn't really a choice at all. Chris spoke up. If I join, if I train, can you promise I won't turn? No. Addie wet his eyes. I can't promise that, but I can promise to teach you how to fight. And if the worst happens, I can promise to make it quick, painless, merciful. Jesus, Chris whispered. Go back to the cabin. Talk it over. Sunrise is in 6 hours. I'll be here waiting for your answer. She turned and walked into the forest, disappearing between the trees like she'd never been there. We stood in the clearing, the symbols still faintly glowing at our feet, and tried to process what just happened. So, Chris said into the silence, that went well. Nobody laughed. We didn't go back to the cabin. I don't know whose idea it was, maybe all of ours at once, but we ended up sitting in the clearing, backs against the large stone, watching the stars through the gap in the trees. This is insane, Sam said quietly. Yesterday we were normal people. Today we're talking about joining some kind of supernatural military organization. Summer, Mia corrected. Soldiers under morning's mandate ensuring renewal. You memorized that from one conversation? I memorize everything when I'm terrified. Chris laughed, but it was hollow. At least you guys have a choice. I'm already in. Winter saw to that. We all have a choice, I said. Addie said I could learn to live with the voice or I could turn into a monster and get killed. Those aren't choices. That's just different flavors of nightmare. Sam took his hand. We're not letting you face this alone. You heard what she said. If I turn, you won't. But if I do, then we'll deal with it. Her voice was fierce. Together, like we've dealt with everything else tonight. We've known each other for 36 hours, Chris pointed out. Trauma bonding is very efficient. We're probably best friends now. Mia was reading the journal again. There's a new entry. About choice. She showed us. Day 1 of your new life. And it is a new life whether you join summer or not. Winter knows about you. The Watcher has marked you. The Seal has called to you. You cannot go back to who you were yesterday, but you can choose who you become tomorrow. Summer offers structure, training, purpose. They fight winter with rules and discipline and sacrifice. They save lives. They hold the line. But they also demand everything. Your time, your safety, your normal life. And sometimes they demand your life itself. The question isn't whether you can handle what's coming. The question is whether you want to fight it or run from it. I chose to fight. It cost me everything, but I don't regret it. Choose wisely. Choose together. Morning always comes. We just have to survive the night. We sat with that for a long time. Finally, Mia spoke. I want to understand this. Whatever summer is, whatever winter is fighting, I want to know. And I can't know if I run. Same, Sam said. Plus, if Chris is training to fight this thing, I'm not leaving him alone. They both looked at me. It's my uncle's legacy, I said. His cabin, his journal, his war, apparently. If he thought I could handle it, maybe I can. And I don't want Chris facing this alone either. Chris was quiet for a moment. Then, you guys are idiots. You know that, right? You could leave, be safe, live normal lives. Normal is overrated, Mia said. Deeply overrated, Sam agreed. Besides, I added, we already saw too much. Even if we left, we'd spend the rest of our lives wondering if that thing in the woods was real, if the journal was real, if we abandoned you when you needed us. So we're doing this, Chris said, joining a supernatural army to fight an eternal war against evil, on purpose. Apparently, we're definitely gonna die. Probably. But not tonight, Mia said firmly. Not tonight, we agreed. We watched the sun start to rise, gold and pink light bleeding into the sky, pushing back the darkness. Morning coming, just like my uncle's journal promised. At exactly sunrise, Addie appeared at the edge of the clearing, like she'd been waiting just out of sight. Well, she asked. I stood up. So did the others. We're in, I said. All of us. Together. Addie nodded slowly, like she'd expected that answer, or hoped for it. Then welcome to summer. She pulled out a knife, wicked sharp, covered in symbols. This is going to hurt. But then again, everything worth doing does. What's gonna hurt? Chris asked nervously. The oath, the binding, the moment you officially become soldiers under morning's mandate. She smiled, and it was the first genuine expression we'd seen from her. Your uncle would be proud. Terrified for you, but proud. Will this stop the infection? Chris asked. No, but it'll give you the tools to fight it, the training to resist, the support to survive. She looked at each of us. Last chance to walk away. After this, winter will know you've joined the fight. They'll target you, hunt you, test you, and eventually, they'll try to break you. Sounds fun, Sam said dryly. It really isn't. We're ready, Mia said. No, you're not, but you will be. Addie held out the knife. Tyler Cross, As William's heir, you take the oath first." I stepped forward, hand extended, and tried not to think about how much my life was about to change. Behind us, the sun continued to rise. Somewhere in the forest, the Watcher observed, and deep below the earth, at the broken seal, winter waited. Our war was just beginning.